Welcome to Speak for America. I'm Bill Spadea, and it is great to have you with us on our brand new show. From the biggest national and international headlines to local stories from Jersey to California and everywhere in between, we've got you covered, America. Senate Democrats, joined by a handful of Republicans, passed a symbolic war powers resolution rebuking President Trump's conflict in Iran. The measure passed 50-48, but unlike previous attempts, it carries no legally binding force and won't reach the president's desk. The vote comes amid a debate over a new U.S.-Iran agreement and an $80 billion Pentagon request to fund the war. Florida Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna is threatening to shut down the House floor if the Senate does not pass the SAVE Act. The bill would require proof of U.S. citizenship for federal voter registration. Sounds pretty common sense, right? Luna says she's got enough Republican votes and that election integrity is the most important issue for the country's future. President Trump has also urged passage of the legislation before the midterms. FBI Director Kash Patel announced Tuesday the agency is adding 2 international fugitives to its new most wanted fraudsters list as a part of sweeping healthcare fraud crackdown. Federal authorities charged 455 suspects in schemes totaling more than $6.5 billion in false claims across 45 states. The new additions, Khalid Ahmed Satari and Emily Tai, are wanted for alleged multi-million-dollar genetic testing frauds. The Department of Education says a new identity verification requirement on federal student aid applications has blocked nearly $200 million from fraudsters since late April. The system flags high-risk applicants requiring government-issued identification before dispersing Pell Grants or other loans. Officials estimate it will save taxpayers more than $1 billion this cycle alone, with California seeing the highest attempted fraud. Elon Musk has threatened to sue Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna after Khanna accused him of possibly sentencing millions of children to death by slashing funding to USAID. Khanna cited a study estimating more than 4.5 million child deaths by 2030. Musk called the claim a lie, accused Khanna of insider trading, and defended the cuts as a crackdown on fraud at the agency. Let me tell you, Elon Musk is 100% right here. The stuff we were funding overseas, it was absolutely just a slush fund for the left-wing agenda. A federal judge has blocked a key Trump administration tool designed to help states verify citizenship and remove non-citizens from voter rolls. U.S. District Judge Sparkle L. Suknanen, yes, that's her name, ruled Monday that the expanded SAVE program violates privacy laws by centralizing Americans' personal data. The decision is a significant setback for the president's election integrity efforts. The administration plans to keep defending the program. It is absolutely time to pass the SAVE Act. And the reflecting pool repairs. Are they reflecting poorly on President Trump? The Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool is now overrun with algae and showing signs of peeling paint just days after a multi-million-dollar renovation that painted the basin. President Trump blamed vandals for the damage. The president said, quote, 6 people have been arrested and 7 people have been cited for the damage they did to our country's now beautiful reflecting pool. Fencing and National Guard members now surround the landmark ahead of Independence Day celebrations for America 250. The Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that ExxonMobil can sue Cuban state-owned oil companies over property seized after Fidel Castro's 1959 revolution. Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote the majority opinion allowing the case to move forward under a 1996 law. The decision, backed by the Trump administration, comes as U.S. ramps up pressure on Havana, including a recent indictment of Raul Castro. Liberal justices dissented, of course. The Senate passed a major bipartisan Housing Affordability Act by an overwhelming 85-5 vote. The legislation aims to cut red tape for new home construction and limit Wall Street investors from buying up single-family homes. President Trump was expected to sign the bill this week, but he just canceled the signing. On Truth Social, he said, "Today's housing news conference and signing is hereby canceled until such time as we pass the desperately needed Save America Act, which I consider to be a national emergency." Join us now to break down what this could mean for buyers and the market is Rob Dekanski of RE/MAX First Advantage. He is one of the top realtors in New Jersey. Very successful, very smart on this, and we're lucky to have him here. Rob, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Bill. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for asking. Let's jump into it. This bill that passed
Sure.
85-5, right? Talking about housing affordability. What I want to know from you is, what does this mean for the regular buyers out there if these large Wall Street investors are going to be stopped from buying single family homes?
This would be incredible for the buyers that are out there today. There's a huge imbalance right now in supply and demand, with the sellers being in the power position now for years, and the buyers are just having a really rough time. So this is a big win for the buyers out there. If we could limit, corporations gobbling up these homes and renting them out back to us.
And what do you think is going to happen with prices? I mean, prices right now, you look at New Jersey, California, Florida. I
Sure.
mean, it's especially for first time home buyers. What's the message to them?
Prices have been on a tear. So there are some states that are still rising, but the majority of the country has seen some contraction over the last few years. So New Jersey's kind of late to the party.
Hmm.
We're still kind of on the upswing here. But this would absolutely help. I have friends in Atlanta, friends in Dallas. The big corporations, China buying and BlackRock
Yeah.
buying and things like that have been a big problem for them for years. We haven't seen that much of it here, luckily. But every bit helps.
Yeah, no doubt. What about
Yep.
the red tape? Talk about the new home construction, et cetera. I mean, I love anytime I hear any new law that's going to cut red tape, cut bureaucracy. I love it. Do you think that is going to have an impact on the inventory?
Yeah, I agree. It's exactly what we need. We need it to be easier to build. We need more housing for our residents. So yeah, any type of red tape that they get rid of, there's so much bureaucracy in the way, and so many things that stifle growth and expansion. Any bit of red tape they get rid of helps us out here. And absolutely, it sends a great message to the buyers, gives us more opportunity here to buy, to grow, to expand. Just to have quality residents here, and keep Jersey growing.
What are you telling your sellers now? I mean, is this a good time to get their house on the market? Who's driving it right now? Sellers, buyers?
Absolutely, sellers. It's never been better
Hmm.
to sell. So, at some point, we've been running up since Hurricane Sandy,
Yeah.
and there's been no end in sight, really. So you're going to cash out at the peak now. The only time the top is in is looking back and be like, oh, wow, that was it. We just passed
Yeah,
it.
right.
So you never know when the music's going to stop.
Yeah.
But if you're a seller right now, you're probably sitting on a ton of equity, and it's a great time to make that move.
What about potential downsides, downside unintended consequences of the legislation, whether it's on the red tape end or it's on keeping the corporate buyers out? Is there anything you're watching for?
Uh, I think it's all upside. Like I said, it hasn't been too problematic here with the corporate buyers. I looked it up. It looks like about 4% of homes in New Jersey are
Yeah.
corporate owned right now. So it hasn't been massive. But keeping them out helps, encourages, home ownership. I mean, what better way to build equity and save for your future than to invest in the home that you live in? And that's how, almost everyone I know has built their wealth, whatever amount it is, has been in that home that they bought, they live in, they renovate. It goes up in value. They pay down the loan. They get the tax
Yeah.
benefits of ownership.
Yeah.
It's just a win-win-win, owning real estate that you live in.
What do you tell those first-time home buyers? I had somebody on the air this morning, 30 something, wants to build a family, and they're like, New
Yeah.
Jersey is out of my range, and they're looking literally at changing jobs and moving to Tennessee. What do you tell first-time home buyers who want to stay in a place like New Jersey?
It's a real problem, and it's difficult. The issue you have here is looking at the absorption rates in New Jersey, you have, depending on the county, anywhere from two buyers for every home to sale to as much as six buyers for every home to sale. And that's what we're
Hmm.
seeing in Monmouth County right now, a 1 month supply of homes.
Wow.
So it's still a big imbalance, and it's only, the strongest buyers getting their offers accepted right now. What we recommend to our buyers, especially, with the way the prices are heated up and rates are on the higher end right now, is if you're buying this home, make sure it's a long-term play. You're buying the home you're going to stay in for a while. In case there is some pullback, in case there is, a little bit of turbulence, it doesn't matter because you plan on being there for the long haul. That kind of first time, starter home, I'm going to be here for a couple years and then move on. Uh, at the moment is a thing of the past.
Wow. Isn't that amazing? You ever think we'd get to a situation like that? It really is incredible. Where's the hottest
Right.
market right now in Jersey?
Monmouth is absolutely on fire.
Really?
I grew up in Middlesex. I live in Monmouth now for the
Yeah.
past 6 years. You got, the beach, the rivers, the ocean, you got Netflix, you got the buzz over there.
Yeah.
It is just absolutely wild right now. I don't think there's a hotter market. Hudson slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
Jersey City was on a tear for a while and things like that, but Monmouth right now is the place to be.
All right. Rob Dekanski, Remax First Advantage. Always good to see you. Thanks, Rob.
Likewise. Thank you, Bill. Take care.
You bet. Take care. Up next, why a taxpayer policy group says all of those AI data centers actually could be a win for taxpayers. And now let's hear from one of our great sponsors, Larry Steinhaus, and his financial tip of the week, real world money advice you were never taught in school, from investing and passive income to protecting your wealth and making smarter financial moves. All right, Larry, what do you have for us today?
All right, I got today's financial tip of the week. The war is ending. Now what's going to happen to your investments? Well, one of the biggest questions investors are asking right now is simple. If the fighting overseas starts winding down, or is winding down, right? What does that mean for the stock market? Well, the answer might surprise you. Historically, markets hate uncertainty more than they hate bad news. Once investors know what the rules are, they can make decisions, and that's why we often see stocks rally when wars begin to wind down. Not because war is good, but because uncertainty starts to disappear. Now, that doesn't mean every stock is going to go up. In fact, some industries may actually face headwinds. Defense contractors may see slower growth expectations if military spending cools. Companies that manufacture weapon systems, missiles, and military equipment often benefit during periods of conflict and heightened geopolitical tensions. On the other hand, industries tied to economic growth may benefit. Airlines certainly could see lower fuel costs if energy markets stabilize. Manufacturers may benefit from improved supply chains. Consumer companies could benefit if people feel more confident about spending money. Energy is another interesting sector. During conflicts, oil prices often rise because of fears of supply disruptions. And if peace brings stability, energy prices could fall, helping transportation companies, manufacturers, and ultimately customers. Technology stocks may also benefit if investors become more willing to take more risk again. When fear declines, money often flows back into growth-oriented investments. But here's the important lesson. Don't invest based solely on headlines. By the time the evening news tells you the war is ending, Wall Street has probably already been thinking about it for weeks or months. The most successful investors don't chase news. They build strategies that can work through good times and through bad times. Republican presidents and Democrat presidents, wars and peace, doesn't matter. Remember, wealth is built by owning quality assets over time, not by trying to guess tomorrow's headline. And if you'd like to learn more about how to become a professional investor, and you can learn how to evaluate the market, events, sector rotations, stock options, and long-term wealth building strategies, join us at Investor Schooling. We teach everyday people how money really works so they can make informed decisions instead of emotional ones. Visit investorschooling.com to attend one of our free classes and start building your financial IQ today. By the way, this commentary is for educational purposes only and should not be considered an investment advice. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Larry. Larry Steinhaus. Always appreciate seeing you. Visit investorschooling.com if you'd like to learn more. Welcome back to Speak for America. I am Bill Spadea. Listen to this story. Former mob hitman John Alight has been arrested on extortion and loan sharking charges in New Jersey. According to the Mob Museum, this guy confessed to committing between 6 and 15 murders, along with shooting 30 to 40 people and beating more than 100 people during his time as a mob enforcer. The 63-year-old Englishtown councilman, who was appointed, then ran unopposed, not surprised, once testified against John Jr. Gotti before turning his life around. He was taken into custody on Friday. Authorities say he used threats of violence to collect on illegal loans, and weapons were found in his home. Alight was released after a court appearance. A new bill in New Jersey would bring back full safety inspections for most vehicles. Sponsored by Senator Patrick Degnan, the legislation would require checks on horns, lights, windshields, wipers, mirrors, tires, and seatbelts. The state eliminated routine safety inspections in 2010, keeping only emissions testing. If passed, drivers could soon face more comprehensive vehicle checks, which means longer wait times. Only in Jersey. Starting June 26th, the New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission will begin appointments for e-bike licensing and registration. Under new state law, riders must be at least 15 years old and have either an e-bike license or a valid driver's license. All e-bikes need to be registered with the Motor Vehicle Commission, and helmets are now required. Full details and forms available at the NJMVC website. If there's something out there that doesn't have a regulation, you can be sure New Jersey politicians will find a way to regulate it and eventually charge you. Brush fires burning more than 22,000 acres in West Miami-Dade are nearing containment. The massive Quarry 2 fire is now, thankfully, 97% contained, while the well fire is 85% contained. Drifting smoke continues to blanket parts of the county, raising air quality concerns. Officials have advised residents, especially those with respiratory issues, to limit their time outside and keep their windows closed. Federal investigators say the deadly Surfside condominium collapse that killed 98 people actually began weeks before the building fell to the ground in 2021. In its final report released Monday, the National Institute of Standards and Technology found that connections between garage columns and the pool deck started failing in early June. A flawed original design that didn't meet building codes, years of alterations, added weight and corrosion left the structure with almost no margin for safety. The Champlain Towers South building pancaked at 1:22 a.m. on June 24th. The tragedy prompted new state laws requiring condo associations to maintain adequate reserves for major repairs. Also in Florida, a Florida man is behind bars after deputies say he held a teenage girl hostage and hid her inside a dryer when she tried to leave his Key Largo home. 53-year-old Christopher Michael Veet faces charges including kidnapping, interference with child custody, and unlawful sexual activity with a minor. The girl called 911 and deputies found her in the dryer. She was safely reunited with her family. Thank God. The investigation is ongoing. A Walmart employee in Florida faces a felony grand theft charge after allegedly pocketing a customer's $2,700 winning lottery ticket receipt. The 40-year-old Tamika Hall was arrested in DeLand after she reportedly kept the receipt at a neighborhood market gas station instead of handing it to the winner. She told deputies she intended to give it to her manager. Hall was released on bond and is no longer employed by Walmart. Police have arrested an 18-year-old suspect in a deadly shooting at a Northern California library. Bradley Scott Sayre is charged with 2 counts of murder after opening fire Monday evening at the Chico branch of Butte County Library, killing 2 men and injuring a teenage girl. Authorities say the suspect was obsessed with the Columbine massacre and acted alone. Los Angeles Unified, the nation's second-largest school district, is implementing strict new screen time limits for students beginning next school year. The policy bans screens for kindergarten and first grade, limits elementary students to 60 minutes a day, and sets weekly caps for middle and high schoolers. Officials say it makes LA a national leader in guarding student well-being while using technology. Data centers powering the AI boom are transforming communities across America. They're also sparking heated debates. Critics warn of higher electricity bills, strained grids, environmental costs passed on to families, not to mention the amount of water that they use to keep cool. A new analysis from the National Taxpayers Union Foundation pushes back a little bit, arguing that taxpayers have a major stake in data development as ratepayers, workers, and users of the digital economy, and that with the right policies, communities can actually come out ahead. Infrastructure upgrades, economic growth, and even the prospect of lower taxes. So I thought let's dive into this a little bit because we understand why so many people are opposed to it. But joining us now, Debbie Jennings, who's a senior policy manager at the National Taxpayers Union Foundation. Thank you, Debbie, for being with us. Let's start with the bottom line for everyday taxpayers. Your recent report argues that taxpayers can actually be victors, not victims. Tell us why.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So taxpayers have a lot to gain from data centers, not only from the AI and the technology that data centers support and bring, but also the property tax revenue that can come to a locality putting up a data center, and really just a slew of benefits. There's actually studies showing that data centers can lower energy prices in a local area because they distribute the fixed cost of energy across a broad range of consumers. So there's a lot to be gained here for taxpayers.
Let's talk about this for a minute. There's a lot of to be said on the water usage, the electricity, the sound, the noise, the environmental impact of covering so much ground? Because these places are huge. I mean, millions of square feet, some of them. Why is there not a push, if you've got a benefit to taxpayers, to put this in almost any of the open land we've got across the country? I mean, the government owns millions of acres of land. Why do you think this has to be put in local towns? Or are you saying the towns ought to be happy they have them?
I'm saying that towns should definitely be happy to have them. So data centers are increasingly moving to rural areas where there's not very many people. Data centers need to be near some kind of population center just based on like latency of the data getting to the end user. But they are going to rural areas that could really use a lot of property tax revenue and a lot of economic investment that they haven't seen in a long time. Some of these areas, factories moved out of decades ago, and they've been looking for something else to kind of support the economic activity. So I would say whether you're a small town, a big city, or anything in between, you should look forward to having a data center.
Debbie, would you say that the political leaders who are pushing this have not communicated properly? I mean, we've seen this in New Jersey, and I'm sure other states are going through the same thing, where local towns are having their council meetings and people are so angry about it that they're now being banned from certain towns across the state and across the country. What does maybe the government or leading politicians or the AI centers themselves need to communicate to people if they're going to even out this debate? Because right now it's a little bit lopsided against them.
Yeah, so look, nobody really wants disruption in their local neighborhood. Nobody wants anything new going up, whether it's a housing development, a new factory, a parking lot, even people get concerned about. So there are a lot of concerns at the local level about these data centers simply due to the fact that there's something new in the area. I think that local leaders need to talk about the property tax revenues that could be gained, the energy costs. There's real studies showing that data centers will lower energy costs for average people. So local leaders need to talk about that. They need to talk about what other things a data center can bring to the community. Sometimes data centers will agree to pave a road, build a roundabout, and do all kinds of other things. And the catch is they don't really have a lot of people using the local services. So whereas a data center is going to bring in a lot of property tax revenue, infrastructure upgrades, the people working at the data center is going to be minimal. So they're really not going to put a strain on the local resources. I think leaders need to talk about that more often.
Can you explain, your work highlighted what you call large load tariffs and consumer regulated electricity, or CRE. Can you talk about that? What does that actually mean for ratepayers and taxpayers?
Yeah, consumer regulated energy, it's a very simple concept. A data center or a large energy producer user will produce their own energy. So that means some data centers will build a natural gas plant on site that they're using their own power and they're not taking anything from the grid. A lot of these users actually will produce more power than they need, and they'll supply the grid with additional energy, which does reduce energy prices for everyone. There's a lot of ways that states can tackle this issue to protect ratepayers that doesn't include banning data centers.
What about the regulations and the bottleneck when you talk about new power generation? I mean, you've got states, New Jersey's a great example, where the last governor closed 6 natural gas plants that were producing electricity. So we went from a state that was energy independent, using the energy that New Jersey was producing, to completely dependent now on buying it from third parties and across state lines. So how do you fix that? Because in a blue state, whether it's California, New Jersey, or other blue states, it doesn't seem that taxes or rates are ever going to come down because the state's other policies are working against it. So even if the data center could be a benefit, does it make sense to do this in blue states where the taxpayers are going to get burned anyway?
Yeah, the irony of that is that natural gas is a very clean energy source compared to other energy sources. So one example, near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, a data center is actually taking an old coal plant, transforming it into a natural gas facility, and using that not only to power the data center, but also to power hundreds of homes nearby. So I think that some of these policies to restrict your energy use, not only does it fly in the face of environmentalism, but it flies in the face of your taxpayers and ultimately the people paying their electricity bills.
Yeah. It's interesting, Debbie, and I really appreciate you coming on because we've been talking about this with a lot of these blue state politicians, and the weak Republicans just hid from the issue instead of leading on the issue, coming out and saying some of the things that you're saying. So we appreciate it. Debbie Jennings, Senior Policy Manager at the National Taxpayers Union Foundation. Good to have you on the show.
Thanks.
Coming up next, how an environmental bill in New Jersey could chase many more companies out of the Garden State. But now, let's hear from another great sponsor, Dr. Adriana Lombardi, Skin Cancer and Cosmetic Surgery Center of New Jersey.
Here at the Skin Cancer and Cosmetic Surgery Center, we really love to get to know our patients. We want to work together with them to reach their goals and make them feel the most comfortable they can. I was planning to open the Skin Cancer and Cosmetic Surgery Center. I wanted a personalized approach to medicine. I felt that medicine was getting commercialized in general, and I had a vision of opening my own practice, including my sister who's a medical esthetician, and being able to treat the patient as a whole. We offer cosmetic procedures, we offer skin cancer surgery, we have general dermatology visits, and different types of non-invasive aesthetic treatments all under one roof.
I focus on non-invasive treatments that help better your skin health and help you also feel good from the inside out.
I try to approach each patient like a family member. I really love to get to know my patients. We have their best interests in mind, so we want to hold their hand on their journey of feeling better about themselves or getting the right treatment done.
Whether it's something non-invasive to something more invasive, we want to make sure that we're thoroughly explaining what the procedure entails, and we're also managing their expectations so we are both on the same page when it comes to results.
Here in the office, I made a promise that we would always use the highest end technology, the most innovative technology and techniques for our patients.
That goes from cool sculpting to Cutera's microneedling device that also is for skin tightening. And then we have different types of lasers by the Luminous that also deliver great results for pigmentation or scars, wrinkles, anything you're looking to address.
After the procedures in our office, our patients often feel so much better about themselves, and people go about life a little bit differently when you have more confidence. So I really feel like it's so important to be the best version of yourself.
To find out how Dr. Adriana Lombardi can help you at the Skin Cancer and Cosmetic Surgery Center of NJ, visit their website, sccsnj.com. Welcome back to Speak for America. I am Bill Spadea. A major business battle is heating up in New Jersey over a controversial Climate Superfund Act. The bill would impose a $50 billion, that's right, with a B, $50 billion in retroactive fines for New Jersey fossil fuel companies. Now, supporters say it's climate accountability, but opponents say this is going to drive up energy costs, threaten thousands of jobs. Take a look at the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, their latest ad. That is a powerful message. Here with us now, Michele Siekerka, President and CEO of the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. Michele, great to see you. How do you really feel? We see this ad.
Oh, I get more and more agitated, Bill, unfortunately. Yeah. At a time when we're seeing businesses continue to choose not to grow here in the state of New Jersey or just outright leave the state of New Jersey, we come up with yet another really bad policy. And frankly, this one is the worst we've seen in quite a long time. This is a $50 billion tax on New Jersey's consumers. Don't let anybody tell you it is anything else.
Now, in the ad, if you look at the truck, and I think it's so well done, that across the side are the companies that have actually already left New Jersey. And, the question is, and you and I have talked about this, the out-migration already, more than $2 billion in adjusted gross income leaving our state. We've just heard that through the first week in June, another 8,000 jobs have evaporated, downsizing companies. What would this mean specifically? And how many companies do you see leaving if this actually becomes a reality?
Well, I'd be guessing at, is this going to be the straw that breaks another camel's back? We just see time and time again, New Jersey businesses deciding that when another bad policy comes out, I'm not waiting anymore. The challenge here in the state of New Jersey is that we just continue to penalize our job creators. When we already have a challenging business climate, oftentimes at the bottom of the list, we come up with another policy. And what we do is we have no reliability, predictability, or certainty. We change our taxes and our rules each and every day. When you change the rules of engagement, these businesses cannot invest, cannot create new jobs, cannot make investment in their facility, or most important to all of it, invest in their local communities.
What happens to the actual energy industry? You look back when we were energy independent in the last term of Chris Christie, that last year when Governor Christie was in office, we were using the energy that we were creating. Governor Murphy comes in, I think it was 6 power plants closed down that were creating electricity from natural gas. What happens to the remaining refineries, these cogeneration plants? It's going to hit every one of them. How many jobs could be lost?
Well, today, so we just recently did an impact study. This is for Bayway Refinery alone. So right now in New Jersey, we only have 2 refineries left. And you were correct, we had 6 20 years ago. Bayway Refinery alone is over 35,000 jobs.
Wow.
That's 35,000 jobs here in the state of New Jersey that are impacted by the Bayway Refinery. $1.4 billion in state and local tax. Think about that. That is significant impact.
Now, you made an argument in the ad, and I know you've said this and your team has talked about this, that the bill is actually unconstitutional. Why do you say that?
Well, you can't go back and retroactively assess companies that were legitimately, legally operating according to permits, laws, rules, regulations. We gave them the right to come here and do business in the state of New Jersey. And now you want to go back and say, we didn't really mean it. We're just going to retroactively go back and assess you. This is probably one of the worst policies we've seen here in the state of New Jersey in quite a long time.
What do you think it'll do to the ratepayers? We're already paying. I don't know what the average is today, but I can tell you, I get calls all the time on the radio, people telling me about their electric bill, $400, $500, $600, $700 a month. What could happen to ratepayers if this goes through?
I'll repeat where I started. This is a $50 billion tax on New Jersey consumers. And why do I say that? Because it's going to hit us at the pump. It's going to hit us in the supply chain. It's going to hit us on every single product that we purchase here in the state of New Jersey. Petroleum is in everything. Think about it.
Yeah.
And think about the energy that we consume. And as you said, we already have a challenge here. It's impossible to believe that this is only going to impact those refineries. They're going to pass the cost off. They have no reason not to. And that's just the way you do business. Your pie is only so large year from year. And when somebody's going to come and take a piece of your pie for something else, you got to make the rest of the pie fill out in a way. And that means increasing the costs. And that means pushing down the chain to our consumers.
Well, and it's interesting, Michele, they can't explain their logic. There's no science behind this. You think about if New Jersey stopped all emissions, you've got China, India, all of these countries with little or no regulations polluting the atmosphere constantly. You don't even have to talk about the climate change debate over whether or not the planet's actually been warming and cooling on a cycle for millions of years. The climate's been changing ever since there was a climate. The absurdity of New Jersey just adding a tax makes zero sense. It makes about as much sense as when Al Gore said that we would be under 3 feet of water in New York by 2015. But here we are. So what do you say to companies that are thinking, I don't know if anybody right now is thinking of relocating to New Jersey or any blue state for that matter, but what do you say to them? And is there something that the legislature can do to reverse course here?
Well, we absolutely. We can send a message right now. by not allowing this bill to move forward for one more moment. I mean, let's kill it. Let's just kill it where it is. That's number one. Number two, we can set a strong message behind this. Our policymakers can in the budget that they're going to present shortly. Let's ensure that, those tax provisions in the budget were either significantly mitigated or are out of the budget, which we don't think they are. All right, let's send a strong message to New Jersey business that we're going to start today to ensure that the corporate transit fee that's supposed to sunset in 2.5 years goes away the way it should, because we're starting to think today about how we fill the bucket for transportation costs in the state of New Jersey 2.5 years from now. We can send those strong messages now, but it's the action behind that. We need a sea change. We need a reform agenda. It needs to start now.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, they're now, I see, lowering some of the roadblocks for nuclear energy. I guess the environmental movement decided nuclear energy was good after all. I imagine 20 years from now, they'll say, we should really be generating electricity with natural gas. Doesn't that make sense? It's amazing.
We need an all of the above approach, Bill. You hear us say it every day. All of the above. Look, we need natural gas. It's a bridge to our future. It's a bridge to our future. And we're foolish to think that we don't need it today. And this is why we're in the situation we are today, because we pulled back too far, too quick. And now we're reaping the negative impact of that here in our state of New Jersey.
And Michele, it was based on emotion and propaganda, not science and facts. And that it makes it all the more painful to watch it. Well, keep the faith, keep the fight. We know that NJBIA is leading the charge, and we appreciate it. Michele Siekerka, President and CEO of the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. Always great to see you, Michele.
Thanks, Bill.
New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, well, he scored a big win Tuesday as 3 of his endorsed far-left congressional candidates, and when I say far-left, we're talking about socialist, Marxist, well, they beat the more moderate Democrats in the primary. Democratic Socialist Darializa Avila Chevalier ousted incumbent Adriano Espaillat, while Claire Valdez and Brad Lander also won. The results show Mamdani is growing in influence and a further hard left shift in New York City Democrats and across the state. President Trump blasted the mainstream media for celebrating the wins of these socialists. He said in a Truth Social post, quote, "I went 16-0 last night, helping to elect wonderful American patriots, and the media doesn't say a word." Speaking of a bunch of socialists, let's talk about The View. The Media Research Center is urging the FCC to rule that ABC's The View is a partisan political operation and not a legitimate news interview program. In a sharply worded filing, MRC President David Bozell says the show fails equal time standards and has submitted more than 2,400 examples of bias favoring Democrats. The move comes as the FCC investigates The View over political candidate airtime rules. ABC is defending the program as bona fide news. No joy from controversial commentator Joy Reid, who says most Black Americans don't celebrate the 4th of July, calling it a holiday for slaveholders who freed themselves from British taxes. Wow. On her YouTube show, Reid argued Juneteenth is the true day of freedom and compared the 4th of July feelings for Black people to how many Native Americans view Thanksgiving. What can you say about that? New Jersey isn't just loud, it's officially one of America's loudest states. New data from Preply ranks the Garden State 3rd in both loudest talking and most talkative categories. Multiple reports, including Newsweek, have also named New Jersey the overall noisiest state in the country. From parkway traffic to crowded malls, Jersey proves it every day, honestly, to dinner tables across the state. Yeah, I can vouch for it. We're a pretty loud state. Up next, New York Republican strategist Manny Alicandro is here for our rapid fire segment, from the housing affordability bill to Keir Starmer's resignation. Welcome back to Speak for America. I am Bill Spadea. Investigators believe 2 ransom notes sent to the family of missing Tucson woman Nancy Guthrie were likely written by her abductors. The first note demanded millions in Bitcoin for her release. A second note, sent days later, claimed the 84-year-old had died. Her daughter, Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, says the family believes these notes are authentic and is pleading for the public's help as the search continues. A New York school board vice president has been arrested on charges of sexual misconduct against children. Travis Barr Longo, 46 years old, vice president of the Casanova Central School District Board, faces multiple counts of endangering the welfare of a child and federal charges of receiving and possessing child pornography. Investigators say they found explicit communications with a child under 12 and numerous images on his phone. Longo has resigned from the board. We'll keep you posted as justice is hopefully served. With major political developments unfolding across the country and overseas, we're joined now by New York Republican strategist Manny Alicandro for a rapid-fire breakdown from housing legislation to socialist primary wins and international shakeups. Let's get his take. Rapid fire, Manny. How you doing, Manny? You ready?
Great. Good to see you. Thanks for having me on. Let's do it.
Got it. All right. President Trump just pulled the plug on the housing affordability bill until the Save America Act gets a vote. Smart political move, or is this a super risky delay?
I think it's a smart move. I think President Trump is playing chess and the rest of the Congress are playing checkers. He knows exactly what he's doing. We need to get the SAVE Act passed. Trump is putting pressure on Senator Thune, on Leader Thune. We need to kill the filibuster, because if we don't now, we won't get anything done. Trump won't get anything done. And assuredly, mark my words, if the Democrats ever take the presidency or take the House and the Senate, they will kill the filibuster. So we need to do this now. Trump is putting the right pressure on at the right time.
Real quick follow-up on that. Can you get the four Republicans, was it Collins, Murkowski, McConnell, and Tillis? They're not on board. How do you get the wayward Republicans to support it?
I think we could do it. I think Thune needs to really lean into them. Collins is up for re-election. Some of the others are retiring. I really think that we can make sure that Thune leans into them and puts pressure on them to do the right thing. At this point, what do they have to lose, especially if they're retiring? Why would they not want to get this accomplished? The only thing is maybe some revenge against Trump, but they need to be statesmen. They need to put the country ahead of their personal interests. I think it can get done.
All right, let's move to New York. 3 Mamdani-backed socialist candidates, Marxists really, they just won big in New York primaries. What does this mean for the future of the Democratic Party, not just in New York, but nationwide?
That's a great question. I think this is a sign of the future. If we had a crystal ball in front of us, this is the future of places like New York and California. You will see more of these Democratic socialists elected in Congress, in New York. You will see more elected statewide as well. Let's not forget, Mamdani was in the state assembly. So he was an elected official. We just didn't know much about him. Right. One of these other individuals who just won the primary, Claire Valdez, she's in the assembly as well. So they're there right now, but their presence isn't known because they're kind of keeping themselves quiet, right? All of a sudden, they strategically figure out, let's take out Esplat. Let's take out someone who's been in Congress for many years, who's part of the system. Let's get rid of someone who's part of the system and the status quo. Let's be anti-establishment. The problem, Bill, is these individuals are just complete disruptors, right? Mm-hmm. There's one thing to say, let's get a wrecking ball and knock something down, and we rebuild it this way, as opposed to just get the wrecking ball and knock something down. What do I mean by that? Defund ICE. Get rid of ICE. What happens if we got rid of ICE? Right now, if we could wave a magic wand over ICE and ICE is gone, what happens then? What replaces ICE? What happens legally, jurisdictionally? What happens with immigration? These are preposterous ideas by very simple-minded individuals. But unfortunately, the electorate in places like New York are buying into it. Yeah. And Mamdani is proving himself to be a national figure.
Yeah. All right, next, a federal judge blocked efforts to check citizenship at the polls. What's your reaction to this, and how big of a blow is this to election integrity?
I think this is a huge blow, right? Let's get this straight. This judge says the president, because of separation of powers, can't impact elections. It's up to Congress and the states. But let's get behind this decision. This judge is a federal judge in Massachusetts. She initially had an injunction, now has a nationwide ban. So where's the separation of powers in terms of looking at it from a constitutional law perspective? A judge in Massachusetts is impacting election law in California? What is going on with that? This was discussed last year and brought up. Senator Josh Hawley was all over this. We need to get back to this with regard to one federal judge in one district having a nationwide injunction or a nationwide ban. It flies in the face of common sense. Similarly to the judge's principle, the president can't impact election law because you have to recognize separation of powers. It's Congress and the states. Well, what about a judge impacting her or his jurisdiction only and not anywhere beyond that in terms of a nationwide ban? Doesn't that make sense? We need to rein in the authority of some of these judges, respectively.
Common sense, not too common. All right, let's turn quickly to international affairs. Not only do you have British Prime Minister Keir Starmer resigning, but you've got this incredible and shocking report about 250,000 reported rapes, and the Parliament is now investigating the so-called rape gangs. London is in trouble, and the entire UK seems to be a complete hot mess. What does this mean, in your opinion, for U.S.-UK relations?
Great question. I think we need to reset those relations. We need to figure out what's going on here. We don't even know who we're dealing with. Starmer is an unmitigated failure. This guy is, by definition, a human rights lawyer. What has he done to protect human rights? All he's done is increase the VAT in the UK for people sending kids to private school, which is preposterous. And he's also this advocate for censorship and online censorship, which is crazy. It's completely preposterous. So I don't know what happened to this guy. What happened to him transformationally? He transformed from someone who believed in human rights to not defending human rights and not protecting human rights and becoming someone who advocates this preposterous censorship. We need to level set and figure out what's going on with the UK. There are too many prime ministers over the last couple of years. I don't know how you establish relations. I mean, people laugh at the United States because of Trump incorrectly, but we have a stable government. We have a stable transition of power. What the heck is going on in the UK? They cannot keep a prime minister and have this continuation of government. It's disruptive. I don't know how you get anything done. You have a whole cabinet, you have a whole staff. So every time someone comes out, other people come in. And by the time they start up, they're probably on the way of resigning again.
Yeah. Well, and this unbelievable contrast of being arrested for a social media post while rape gangs are reportedly roaming free. It's just, it's horrific to think about. So maybe changes are coming. Manny Alicandro, always great to see you. We'll have you back on soon. See you next week.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. All right, you can't make this up. Ever wonder what George Washington smelled like? Well, a New Jersey fragrance house knows. Caswell Massey, America's oldest operating consumer brand, founded in 1752, still makes the exact No. 6 cologne that Washington bought in 1781. The Edison-based company also supplied JFK's favorite Jockey Club cologne and Eisenhower's preferred soap. They're celebrating America's upcoming 250th birthday with special patriotic gift sets. Pretty cool. Can't make this up. President Trump will kick off the Great American State Fair tomorrow night as part of America's 250th anniversary celebrations. But no one will stop, collaborate, and listen, except Vanilla Ice, while several performers pulled out because they are putting politics ahead of celebrating America. Vanilla Ice is staying committed, calling it an honor to perform. The massive event on the National Mall will feature all 50 states, a giant Ferris wheel, patriotic programming running through July 10th. Thanks for watching, guys. That's all the time I have with you tonight. I always enjoy spending time with you and look forward to continuing to speak for America. I am Bill Spadea. I want you to keep the faith and keep the fight. See you next time.